Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all and thank you for giving up your time to attend our first event in the rollout of the new Applied Maths specification. The purpose of this webinar is to give school leaders an overview of the new spec, which will commence being taught to fifth-year students in September 2021 and will have its first examination in June 2023. Before we start, I want to go through a small number of protocols. The webinar is scheduled to last approximately 45 minutes, and we appreciate you giving it your full attention during this time. A recording of this event will be made available on the PDST website next week, so please don't record it. The PDST do not give permission to do so. Throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, you can ask them using the Q&A function in Zoom. We have time set aside to answer questions at the end of the webinar, and anything that we don't get to, we'll follow up with an email to all participants afterwards. Depending on what type of device you're tuning in from, you may have limited screen space. So to help you with this, you might consider minimizing the speaker view in Zoom so that you can see the full presentation. And finally, there will be polls that come up on your screen from time to time throughout the webinar. Feel free to answer these as the webinar progresses. And I think we'll have our first poll now. This webinar has been presented by the PDST Applied Maths team. The remit of our team is to provide professional development for teachers of applied maths to support the teaching of the new specification. We did not write the specification. This is the remit of the NCCA, nor do we play any role in the design of the assessment components. This is the remit of the State Exams Commission. So if you have any questions relating to either of these areas, you will need to contact these bodies. My name is Stephen Gamble. I'm a PDST team leader with responsibility for supporting applied maths. The applied maths team is made up of Brendan Doheny, who is a teacher of applied maths at the Bish in Galway and is former chair of the Irish Applied Maths Teachers Association and current national committee member, and Owen Long, who is a teacher of applied maths in Davis College Cork and a member of the national committee of the IAMTA. Both Brendan and Owen were involved in the NCCA Applied Maths Subject Development Group. Along with Brendan and Owen, who are seconded to do this work full-time, we have experienced applied maths teachers who work part-time in an associate role. They are Sean Connolly, Noel Cunningham, Liam Doheny, Pat Lynch, Judy Mills, and Sean Rossiter. We're thankful to their schools for allowing them to do this work. Looking at the learning intentions for this event, we hope that by the end of the webinar, you will have an understanding of the rationale for introducing a new specification and what the new specification looks like, an understanding of the program of support we are planning for teachers of applied maths, an understanding of a number of ways in which applied maths may be provided for in your school, and an understanding of the next steps for getting your school or teachers involved in the professional development program. To do this, we'll start by hearing from Owen, who will present a short introduction to applied maths as a subject, before moving on to possible approaches to providing for applied maths in your school. I'll then take you through an overview of the professional development program plan for supporting teachers, before we'll take some time to answer some of the questions which come in over the course of the event. We'll conclude the webinar by looking forward to the next steps for schools and teachers. And with that, I'll now hand you over to Owen.
Thanks very much, Stephen. Hello to everyone, and thanks for giving up your time to attend this afternoon. I hope it's going to be a very enjoyable and productive session for everyone. So in this section, we will outline what applied maths is as a subject, its background, the new specification, and its benefit to students. So first of all, what is applied maths? So applied maths encourages students to see the applications of maths and create connections to the world around them. It develops a deep level of understanding of maths and explores the boundaries of maths and other disciplines. It develops a broad set of skills, including problem solving, mathematical modeling, and computational thinking. These skills can be applied in a wide variety of sectors, such as the sciences, finance, and even medicine. Students who have studied applied maths find employment in a range of workplaces as the ability to put real-world problems into a framework that enables rational decision-making is highly sought after. Now we'll hear from James Gleeson, Professor of Industrial and Applied Mathematics at the University of Limerick, who will talk about applied maths from the point of view of further study and applicability. James contributed to the development of the new specification as part of the NCCA advisory group.
At third level, we see great benefits of students studying applied maths at Leaving Cert. In my department of mathematics and statistics, we teach modules to a very wide range of courses across the university, in science and engineering, where you might expect, but also in business and in health courses. Across all these courses, we see students who have studied applied maths having an advantage over those who haven't, not just in their technical skills, but in their ability to problem solve and to think creatively and logically. Applied maths is a particularly good subject for developing problem solving skills with applications to real world problems. The ability to take a real world problem, which could be from business, engineering, or even from the social sciences, and to be able to express it in a mathematical language, that's an absolutely crucial skill. It's one that's highly valued by employers too. And data analysis and data science are mathematics-based areas that are especially strong employment sectors at the moment. And there are excellent opportunities for further study too, in terms of master's and PhD positions that are funded. At third level, we see great.
Now we're going to take a look at the background of the subject. So the previous applied maths course has remained really unchanged for approximately about 50 years. It is an excellent course that offers students the opportunity to engage with the timeless applications of mechanics and develop their problem-solving skills in the real-world applications of maths. The revised specification offers an even broader exposure to the applications of maths and further develops their problem-solving and modelling skills in a larger context. So, why is there a new specification? Ireland has always been a leading country in the STEM industry, and it is the Department of Education's ambition to continue this by providing the best STEM education provision in Europe. This is outlined in the STEM Education Policy Statement 2017 to 2026. The reform of applied maths is complementary to the wider development of STEM across senior cycle, with the introduction of computer science, the rollout of a new agricultural science specification, and planned introduction of further specification revisions. The new applied maths specification aligns with this wider change and takes into account the ever-evolving nature of skills required for 21st century learning, research, and employment. It offers students with the opportunity to recognise the role of maths in understanding the world around us, while also nurturing their interests and curiosity in STEM subjects. With students now entering into new fields such as data science and a thriving technology industry with ever-changing demands, then applied maths changes with that to provide them with the skills needed to be leaders in STEM. So let's take a look at an overview of the new curriculum. The new specification is made up of 4 strands. In strand 2, students learn about networks and graphs and how they can be used to solve real-world problems such as calculating the shortest or quickest route in the journey, which is the basis of Google Maps. They will encounter content such as matrices and various algorithms as well. Strand 3 explores the motion of an object. It involves analysing speed, acceleration, forces, and vectors. It has applications such as the maths behind a free kick, the top speed of a racing car, and the collision of objects. Strand 4 will cover areas such as difference and differential equations, which can be used to model population growth, predict changes in the economy, and calculate the speeds of falling objects. Strand 1 then is a unifying strand where students learn about mathematical modelling as a process in solving problems. Strand 1 permeates each of these other 3 strands and forms the basis for the approach to teaching the curriculum, which is promoted by the specification. Students learn about strands 2, 3, and 4 through a process of mathematical modelling. The centrality of mathematical modelling to students' experience of studying applied maths is further reflected by how students are assessed. Assessment of students' attainment of the learning outcomes of the specification comprise a written exam, which is worth 80% of the final grade, and coursework in the form of a modelling project, which is worth 20% of the final grade. The modelling project will give students the opportunity to apply the skills and knowledge they acquire to have a greater control of their own learning and express their creativity in the applications of maths. The project component will see a brief issued to students early in 6th year, with it expected to be completed midway through 6th year then, putting less pressure on the final exam. The new specification will be examined at higher and ordinary level, and students vary in the amount and type of support they need to be successful. The use of strategies for differentiated learning, such as adjusting the level of skills required, varying the amount and nature of teacher intervention, and varying the pace and sequence of learning will allow students to interact at their own level. As outlined in Circular 61/2019 and updated in Circular 70/2020, the new specification is due to replace the old one in September 2021 and will be examined first in June 2023. We will continue to encourage you to type any questions that you might have in the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen throughout the webinar, which will lead to a more efficient questions and answers at the end. So we will now take a look at the provision of applied maths in your school and its benefits. So starting off, there are many benefits to offering applied maths in your school. The new applied maths specification offers students a broader exposure to the applications of maths, incorporating 21st century learning. Students will be given the opportunity to explore deep into the applications, create connections to reinforce their learning, and develop a strong understanding of skills such as problem solving, modeling, and analytical thinking. Students who study applied maths gain valuable additional exposure to mathematical thinking, and as a result, will perform better in mainstream maths. In particular, applied maths extends students to exposure to algebraic and trigonometric student manipulation, as well as extending the understanding of the applications of calculus. Students that enjoy and excel in maths will flourish in applied maths, and it gives them the opportunity to choose subjects that benefit their academic strengths. The fostering of this really encourages students to reach their potential academically. With such a thriving STEM industry in Ireland, by offering applied maths, you are giving students skills that are transferable to the working world and better equipping them for their future. The higher order skills that students acquire are applicable to a wide variety of third level courses, giving them the ability to assess, analyze, and problem solve in a variety of contexts. With regard to timetabling, to create the best experience for students in applied maths, it will be best embedded in an option band so that all students have access to the subject. If your school hasn't previously offered applied maths and would like to introduce the new specification for 5th year 2021, then it is important for the teacher to register for the upcoming professional development and to plan how the school will timetable it for your students. It was quite common for the subject to be offered outside of school as an extra subject. This is still possible and can be maintained. The Department of Education's vision for STEM is to create a high-quality STEM education for learners that nurtures curiosity, inquiry, problem solving, and creativity. One of the high-level actions for the STEM implementation plan is the increased participation of learners in STEM education. Applied maths is not just for elite students, it is for students from all backgrounds, ability, and gender who have an interest in and would like to develop their skills in the applications of maths. Girls regularly demonstrate very strong competencies in applied maths, and it is very important to increase the participation of females in STEM education and careers. As part of the Department of Education's STEM implementation plan, there is a goal of 40% increase in the uptake of STEM subjects by females. Since applied maths has no counterpart at junior cycle, it is important that every student should be made aware of the subject. A school's STEM and career guidance department can give an overview of what it entails, its benefits, and encourage to take it up if that's where their strengths lie. We will now hear from Edel Riley, who is a student at Athlone Community College, on her experience of applied maths.
Hi, I'm Edel Riley and I am currently a 6th-year student in Athlone Community College studying applied maths. Applied maths is definitely one of my favourite subjects. It's a problem-solving based subject where it's different to all my other subjects that I study, in which it's not solely based off rote learning and learning off definitions word for word. It's more emphasized on your understanding of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what your final answer gives you. Applied maths is definitely great because it helps me with most of my other subjects, like maths and physics. There is great overlap between the three subjects, so they end up benefiting each other great. And the problem solving and kind of analyzing skills that we get from applied maths definitely helps in like certain circumstances in my other subjects as well. All the examples and questions in applied maths are based solely kind of around real life practical applications. So when you're doing your questions, you kind of are really easily able to picture what you're doing and what you're trying to find. And from that as well, it's a very enjoyable atmosphere in class when you're all working together to find the best way and method of doing the question that you're on.
Brilliant. So it's always great to hear a student's contribution and their reflection of the subject. Now, so you see another poll has popped up. So if you want to answer that as we go along, so there's no panic either way. Now, so let's take a look at applied maths in smaller schools. So with regard to smaller schools or Gael Cláistí, sometimes they may not have sufficient numbers of interested students to provide access to the subject. In such cases, there are alternative arrangements worth considering, including the option that a number of schools could work together to form a class group with one teacher. 2 or 3 schools could share one teacher, where each school may not have enough students to form a class. This is currently working well in a number of locations around the country. For more remote schools, there could be a blended learning approach to the teaching and learning of the subject, so that all interested schools and students are accommodated. If this is something that your school would like to explore further, get in touch with us afterwards or fill out the expression of interest form on the Applied Maths page on the PDSD website. For new schools to Applied Maths, if your school hasn't previously offered Applied Maths, but you would like to begin offering it, there are a number of points which need to be considered. The first is ways in which the subject can be provided for on the timetable, which we've just spoken about. Another important point to consider is how best to develop a vision for the subject in your school and the importance of collaboration with school partners in doing so. A third consideration is the capacity of your school to teach the subject. You may already have an applied maths teacher on staff, but if you don't, you may have a teacher who would be interested in teaching it. The broader scope of the specification offers a more rounded course that isn't just maths physics, and this creates an opportunity for non-applied maths teachers to broaden their horizons, develop themselves professionally, and to provide a new opportunity for students in their school. The Professional Development Programme offered by the PDSD will fully equip teachers with the knowledge and skills to teach the new curriculum. Along with this programme, we will also offer bespoke school support where we could work with teachers in individual schools to help them develop their practice. There is also great support networks in the Irish Applied Maths Teachers Association, which is a very supportive community that has discussion forums and conferences to support its members. If you want more information on planning for the instruction of this subject to your school, you can check out our video on the Applied Maths page on pdsd.ie. Another option for schools, and also for existing schools, is the PDSD's Transition Your Applied Maths module. This gives students the opportunity to explore the subject in a less pressurized environment, promote the subject among students, parents, and teachers in advance of the students choosing their Leaving Cert options, and also provides an environment where a teacher who is new to the subject can hone their craft. I'll now pass you over to Stephen to discuss the Professional Development Programme.
Thank you, Owen. We're conscious that there is a significant difference between the current syllabus and the new specification, both in terms of content and approaches to teaching, learning, and assessment. As a result, there is a comprehensive professional development programme planned to fully support teachers, both experienced and new, in teaching the new specification. The programme begins today, 9 months in advance of when the new curriculum will commence being taught in schools, and will run for 3 years up to the first examination of the subject in June 2023. The programme comprises 9 full-day seminars, 5 professional learning community events, and 4 webinars. The seminars are designed to give teachers the opportunity to develop their knowledge of the 4 strands of the specification and to explore approaches to teaching, learning and assessment which promote the aims of the specification. Teachers attending the seminars will be provided with subcover. In between each seminar, the PLCs will give teachers the opportunity to choose specific areas of the specification and to collaboratively share and develop practice around these. PLC events will be driven by the teachers themselves with support from PDST. The webinars will respond to the needs of teachers as they emerge over the course of the year and provide an opportunity to address common queries around the implementation of the new specification. If we look at our tube map for term 2 and term 3 of this school year, we see today's event, followed by our first national seminar in January and our second national seminar in March. In between the seminars will be our first professional learning community event. Following on from the seminar in March, we will consider the feedback from teachers up to that point and use this as a focus for the end of year webinar. And that sets out our plan for the current year. Year 2 follows a similar structure with a mix of national seminars, PLCs and webinars, and as does Year 3. You may also have noticed the presence of workshops on GeoGebra, which is a dynamic graphing and analysis software application. All of our seminars will promote the use of digital technologies to enhance students' learning experience and deepen their understanding. As part of the development of the content of the seminars, the PDST team will create sample resources which may be used by teachers in their own classrooms. These will be made available on the Applied Maths page on the PDST website. In addition to this, teachers will also have the opportunity to work collaboratively with each other and to share resources through SchoolNet. Let's take a quick look at the Applied Maths page on the PDST website. The website already has lots of useful content. There are videos capturing the views of different partners, including James and Edel, who we heard from earlier. And there's also videos there from Lorcan O'Callaghan from the PDST leadership team and Jason Kelly from the inspectors. I'd recommend that school leaders view Lorcan's and Jason's videos as they expand on a number of the issues we raised in relation to provision of the subject in schools. The website also hosts a copy of the new specification, we can see it there, and the tube map, which outlines the support for the current year. Finally, it's important to highlight 2 electronic forms on the page. The first one is the expression of interest for schools who are considering introducing applied maths for the first time and wish to discuss this with us. And the second is the form which teachers can use to sign up to our mailing list. So we'll now spend a few minutes answering some of the questions which you have submitted over the course of the webinar. Before we do so, I want to remind you that any questions we don't get to, we'll answer in a follow-up email to all participants. So let's have a look at our questions then. Okay. So Owen, you might take this one. It comes from one of our participants. Who says that my school doesn't offer physics. Would we be mad to think about introducing applied maths?
No, no, thanks very much. No, not at all. I would have always taught to students, even with the previous mechanics course, you would have often had students who were very good at maths or liked maths or loved the applications of it, and they didn't even study physics. So, and they would have gotten on very well and scored very highly in the subject. Like, I would never see the physics as a deal breaker at all. And especially with the new specification, it's very much the case where it's probably slightly less mechanics, and then the newer material and the expansion of differential equations, it's very much more, it's definitely suited to the people who are just more the applications of maths as opposed to just being maths physics. So if anything, the new specification is really opening up to students who like maths, and it's not very much the case of that it's for some of the students who do maths and physics, and it's a no-brainer to do applied maths then. So now really it's opening it up to a far wider reach of students, and it's definitely a much greater option for everyone.
Okay, great. Thanks, Owen. Another question, Owen, that I'll fire over to you. What is the weighting of each strand in the exam?
So with the specification, there's obviously 4 strands. Strands 2, 3, and 4 cover content. So while strand 1 then is more, I suppose, your unifying strand. So in that context, then say strands 2, 3, and 4 are all of equal weighting. So they'll make up 1/3 of the content that we'll teach students. And strand 1 then is more, say, I suppose, your modeling approach to how you deliver the course, and I suppose it comes into play in your project as well. So each of strands 2, 3, and 4 are all 1/3 each then in terms of, say, teaching content.
Okay, brilliant. There's other questions coming in here. Some of them have been addressed already. So when will CPD be offered to teachers? Is the new specification available? So the spec is available on the NCCA website on curriculumonline.ie, and it's also available on the Applied Maths page on pdst.ie. And the CPD program starts proper, I suppose, with our first national seminar in January. Okay, some other questions there around the exam and around what that's going to look like. And again, as I referred to at the start, that's really not our role now. We will explore and get to discuss this as we go through our CPD program, but they are questions for the State Exams Commission, and we'll be chatting to them and working with them over the next number of months to gain greater clarity on this. Owen, I might fire this one back to you. Can the project element be done? So sorry, can the project element be done as part of a group, or is it done individually? And also, is the project done during class time or outside of class?
Yeah, no, thanks very much. So with regard to the project, it aims that it's actually, that it'll be done as an individual project. I suppose with it being 20% of the final grade of a subject, it obviously carries an awful lot of weight. So it's definitely planned that it'll be done on an individual basis. They'll all get the same brief, but they'll all then approach it their own individual ways. So, and then with regard to whether it's done inside or outside of school, it's then, I suppose, obviously it's at early stages of that, and we're hoping to get far more clarity. But I know it's definitely planned that the subject can still be taught outside of school under teacher supervision and that. So I don't see any reason why that it'd be the same. I suppose that if it was taught in class, then the project will be worked with the teacher. So if it's taught outside of school or after school, then taught by a teacher, then the project can be done in that context as well. So I don't see any reason why that would be a barrier for us.
Okay, great. Thanks, Owen. Somebody's asking if the new course will still be an advantage to students who want to go on and study engineering. I think it's fair to say that it will be. Owen, would you have any different view on that?
No, completely. Like if anything, like I suppose any college courses now is developing as well with 21st century kind of learning skills. So there's still an awful lot of mechanics and calculus, differential equations, everything inside the new specification, as well as the new material of networks and graph theory, which is becoming far more popular with data analytics. So all of those things will be a huge advantage to anyone studying engineering or any subject really, because it's promoting skills for life and for any kind of problem solving analytical skills that can be applied to any college course.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Owen. Rita is asking, where can teachers get material for the new course? So we saw the Applied Maths page on pdst.ie. So all the materials that we're developing and anything that we think is going to be useful for teachers, we'll be populating that page with it. So yeah, that's probably the answer to that done. Let's have a look. Yeah, we have a question here around strand 1 about mathematical modelling, and this participant is asking, what do we mean by mathematical modelling?
Yeah, so I suppose with mathematical modelling, for me, I suppose in teaching applied maths, it's mathematical modelling sounds quite, I suppose, it sounds like it really can be, that it could be very, very complicated. Taking a look at the spec, and I suppose for me, dissecting it and tearing it apart and breaking it down to as simple as I can. Basically, what a mathematical modelling means is the exact same as what teachers have been doing all the way along. That is basically like you're starting off, you're formulating a problem from data and information that's been given to you, same as in any previous applied maths question. You're translating it to math, And then what you're doing then is you're calculating, you're computing a solution, solving whatever problem you've been given, and then finally then you're translating it and you're evaluating the solution. So basically what you're doing then is you're saying, can I predict a better solution? I'm communicating the solution. So basically it's quite similar to the previous course. So with mathematical modeling, it's a process in which I suppose we're giving students skills and we're teaching in a certain way that we're getting a problem that's being put to us through the material that we've been studying, analyzing it, solving the problem, and then communicating the results.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Owen. Maybe a couple more questions then, just there's fresh ones coming in here in the Q&A, so I might address a couple of those. So there are more teachers who want to be involved in teaching applied maths. Can they get involved at this point, or will there be further CPD? So I would say they get involved at this point. Again, I'd suggest that they do that in consultation with their school management. But the more people that we have involved at the rollout of the first national seminar, then the better from everybody's point of view. That fair enough, Owen, to say?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Okay, great. There's another question here that I want to get to. Yeah, will the project be marked or graded externally, that is by SEC, or will the teacher be responsible for grading it? So Owen, do you want to take that one there?
Yeah, so with regard to the project, so in this case, so it'll be marked completely externally by the SEC, with teachers playing no part in the correction of it. The teacher's role would be to prepare the students for the project, guide them through it as it progresses in order to maximize their engagement and their learning throughout. So in that case, they can apply any skills or any knowledge that they've acquired throughout all of fifth year. And when the project comes along, then the teacher's job is, I suppose, is to support them, to guide them, to help them, to enforce any understanding from fifth year, but they'll have no role in the grade that students get.
Okay. Very good. And we have another one in here about a school who has 2 teachers involved in teaching applied maths within your timetable in school. Will the 2 teachers be allowed to engage with the CPD? And the answer to that is yes, absolutely. And we'd very much encourage that. I'm also conscious that there's lots of questions coming in around like specific details around the project, and we're not going to address those today, but this will be addressed over the course of the professional development program. So you'll just have to be patient and wait until we get the chance to do that. Yeah, and I think that's a fairly good reflection. There's questions around textbooks. Again, we're not in a position to answer any of that. They're kind of privately done, I guess, initiatives. So that's not within our remit. And then Rita is asking, will seminars be run remotely? That's a really good question. The answer is yes. Probably, particularly the early ones. Again, it very much depends on what happens in the next number of months in terms of the COVID-19 situation. But at the minute, the Applied Maths team are planning for delivery both in traditional face-to-face seminars and as remote seminars as well. So we're planning for both eventualities, and then we'll be able to make a decision closer to the time as to which one of those will be most appropriate. Obviously, we would like to have face-to-face CPD because it's more interactive and we think that people get more from it, but we may be in a situation where we have to do it remotely for the reasons just outlined. Okay, so we might finish up then at this stage, if that's okay with everybody. So to finish off, I just have a few reminders for you. The first one is that the first national seminar takes place in January and February in 2021. So it may be online or it may be in an education centre. We'll see. Bookings are open now at the link on the screen. And please, if you're a teacher joining us, which I know there's lots of you there, there's no problem with booking your place now for those events. Or if you're a principal or deputy principal, please encourage your teachers to get booked in early. And to book in, you'll need to be registered with the PDST online booking system. So if you haven't done that before, then you'll need to go through that process. You'll be prompted to register when you log on to that page if you're not already logged in. I also want to remind you of the two forms on the Applied Maths page on pdst.ie. So the first one, as I mentioned earlier, is where you can fill in details of your school if you're interested in exploring ways in which to introduce applied maths onto your timetable for the first time, or if you're a new school thinking about providing for applied maths. The second form then is for yourselves as teachers to fill out so that you're on our mailing list, and we'll be using our mailing list as our main mode of communication with teachers. So if you want to stay up to date with new developments, new resources, upcoming CPD, this is the best way to do so, to get yourself onto our mailing list. Outside of all of this, if you have any queries at all, please just email us and we'll do our best to help out whatever we can. And I think Owen has just pasted all the links from the slide into the chat in Zoom. So if you want to click on those and open them up in your own web browser before we finish the webinar, then please do so. And then lastly, all that's left to do is to say thanks to the team who put the webinar together. We hope that you found it useful and a nice introduction to what's going to be an interesting 3 years as we all get to grips with the new specification and we start to teach it to our students. And lastly, then, I just want to thank you all for, again, giving up your time this afternoon and attending this webinar. So I'll give 30 seconds to everybody who's here so that you can click on whatever links are in the chat. And after that, we'll close down the webinar and we look forward to seeing you either face-to-face or online again in January at National Seminar 1. Thank you all.
Thanks very much, everyone. It's great to meet you all.